Welcome. Very much welcome to this session about emerging technologies and great power competition. We are very happy to have so many of you here in the room. And I'm not sure if many of you know the expression Schlafstunde, but that refers to this time of the afternoon when people tend to take naps. And actually, that's what I wanted to talk about, in a sense. Because when I'm a diplomat, my name is Iddo Moya, I'm from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I'm the cybersecurity director. And I'm a career diplomat, and I'm not into technology at all, but I'm very interested in technology. And just as I learn languages in places where I serve around the world, I started to learn some technology. And I came across some literature about programmers, and at that time an idea sprang to my mind. I thought it was rather funny, and that was that geeks and technologists can hardly sleep, while we diplomats have a great time. Why is that the case? Because when you write a program, you know that there is a bug. Somewhere in your program there must be a bug, and if you don't find the bug, somebody else will find the bug, and you don't want that to happen. So you have to check and recheck and recheck, and you know that you're just human. So it's a sort of a race, a constant race that keeps you awake. And for diplomats, the world is perfect. We can always describe the world in the best way we can. It's always good, there's always potential, there's always a way out, and that's a very different world. But that used to be in the past, and I think things are changing. And in cyber, we understand that none of us can really sleep. There are a lot of issues that are happening, and we see that 2017, many say it was the worst year in cyber security in the world, globally. WannaCry and NotPetya were just examples of probably what we can, by many countries, is considered state-sponsored cyber attacks. So the world is changing. States also start to attribute cyber attacks to other countries because of the need to try and stabilize the international environment. Sometimes it's part of a broader conflict, sometimes it's about something that's specific to cyber. But we see that states start to act. We see that the European Union develops tools to act in cyber, and we see that all kinds of fora gather with experts and try to think, what should we do? And this is what we are going to talk about today. We are going to talk about the reaction of states to the development of technology. And we are going to talk about different approaches, and we are going to talk about some test cases, and we are going to talk about the gap and how we bridge the gap between technology and policy. Some mechanisms that already exist have made interesting headway. For example, the United Nations managed with within the first committee that deals with arms control to develop a process that started in 1998, which is called the Government Group of Experts. And those experts met several times, and on a few occasions also managed to come up with a consensus report. And that report, first of all, made clear that international law applies in cyber, and further also elaborated on possible confidence-building measures, on non-binding voluntary norms, on capacity building and issues such as that. And the effort is, again, to try and create a more stable international environment. But we understand that this process also has limits. The last group that met last year was not able to reach consensus on all points, and therefore there was no consensus report. Some consider this as a failure. Others, like I would say, for example, see this as a milestone, another milestone in the process, in a long process where states want to create some kind of universal understanding. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Other organizations, like the Organization for Security and Economic Cooperation in Europe, work very hard and create what we call confidence-building measures, a joint document that is both signed by the United States and Russia and many other countries, where a whole list of steps can be taken to enhance confidence in each other. So you have focal points, you perhaps in the future create joint operations of some sorts, but it's a gradual process that brings states closer together. most importantly, I think, is the capacity building aspects, and we'll be talking about that also later this afternoon. What does it really mean to have people who are not technologists understand technology better? What should they learn? How should that affect their decision making? And how does that aspect of technology connect to many other aspects that states deal with in international security environment? For Israel, of course, international cooperation is paramount, and you'll be hearing that tomorrow from Prime Minister Netanyahu. How important we stress the potential for international cooperation. Israel is in a more difficult position because we are not part of regional organizations. Of course, we are part of the United Nations, but we have a unique set of conditions in our area. We have our unique capacities and capabilities. And with that, we try to reach out to partners, to like-minded countries, and to the general community, and offer what we can in our experience and our knowledge and our technology to resolve issues, and also to absorb what is happening around the world and try to integrate it into our system. We are unique in the sense that we always rely on ourselves for our security, but we understand that in cyber, we have to have this interconnectedness. And this interconnectedness is based on confidence, and confidence building takes time, and it takes also common understanding and common language. And that is something that we also would like to work on very hard together. The challenges that we face nowadays in terms of the international environment are first and foremost, I think, deterrence. And how do we deter actors who want to use and abuse the digital domain to attack others, to inflict economic harm, maybe to inflict physical harm? That is a very complicated question because most of the countries that want to deter are also very much dependent on technology. So in a way, we are in a glass house and we want to deter others, and that's not easy. It brings us to the realization, yet again, that cyber is not disconnected from many other aspects of international security. We have to remember that, and we have to remember that we have also other sets of rules. And perhaps later on in the discussions, we also touch on those, and the experts and the speakers perhaps will highlight what is in their countries the idea of creating deterrence. We're talking about new partnerships that are forming. Interestingly, for example, the EU-NATO cooperation. It doesn't speak for itself. It's not a natural cooperation. I think that several years ago, if somebody would have said that these two bodies work closely together on any issue, that will be rather surprising because they are not set up to work together. They have completely different agendas. Nowadays, for Europeans, it's quite natural that EU and NATO should complement each other in some ways. So we have new partnerships. We have also new partnerships between government and non-government entities. And perhaps we'll speak about that as well. Among the speakers, we have several members of the Global Commission on Stability in Cyberspace. They are not all in the same forum, but that's a body that is headed by former Minister of Foreign Affairs from Estonia, who is fortunately with us tonight, this afternoon, Ms. Karjulant. Welcome. And their aim is to create a discussion, sort of a multi-stakeholder discussion, not only to discuss, but to set standards and to come up with ideas, concrete ideas for new norms. This is new. This is rather new, to have a body that is not governmental discuss norms that should be abided by states. We are looking for concrete action. For us in Israel, we say tachlis. We are really looking to have concrete capability to make concrete steps to enhance our security. But in cyber, that's very complicated. And that pertains again to the gap between technology and policy. Technology develops very fast. It has no idea what the political world is about. And the political world, the bureaucracy, has to develop tools, regulations, standards for an environment that is for us, for the technology, is very difficult to comprehend and to connect to. So again, when we have, for example, Microsoft come up with the idea of a Geneva Cyber Convention, that's a very interesting idea. Many countries will not like it very much, not the cyber, not the convention, maybe the Geneva aspect of it, but it's an interesting initiative. So that is done by the industry, by the technology side, to connect to the political side. And we still haven't spoken about the involving the civil society. So what else can we do? There is a lot that we can do. We'll hear all about that this afternoon, about how work within the United Nations can be enhanced, how like-minded cooperation can be enhanced, maybe on a broader sense, maybe on an ad hoc basis, but a lot of that can be done. How do we, as states, connect with non-state actors that are benevolent, of course, not the bad actors? And I think we have a very distinguished list of experts and speakers that will share, when they share their observations and ideas, I think that will be a very enriching discussion. I'm very much looking forward to that. And without further ado, I would like to invite my co-host, Mr. Leo Tabansky, to introduce our speakers. Thank you.